Retention is one of those topics that your agency should have top of mind all the time. You work so freaking hard to get a client. You want to be able to retain those people because if you can't retain a client, well, you're going to constantly have to refill this empty bucket. Now, when you can retain clients, well, your bucket stays full and you don't have to put in that hard work of getting more as much often. So, retention is something that we should definitely stay focused on as agency owners. Now, today's lesson is a little bit, different than, you probably think. And today I want to talk about teaching your clients how to think and reframing into the proper perspective. Now, here's what I mean by this. Your clients get their information on their business from a wide variety of sources. They are looking at YouTube. They are reading articles. They are talking to their Aunt Sally. They are talking to staff members and managers to get perspectives on marketing and how well things are going. And sometimes these perspectives can be totally freaking off. And it can lead to your client having false, or poor perceptions on the campaigns that you're running. And so as an agency, what you've got to do is upfront pre-frame and change their perspective for how to look at a campaign, because these outside influences can often cause problems for you in the long run. And so if you don't give them the criteria for how to judge a campaign, if you don't really go through and look at stats with them on a regular basis and encourage them to really think about the whole picture, well, guess what? They're going to use what they know, and that's going to be what they use to judge you with, right? And so if you can do this up front, you can really, help your retention rates. So I have a story for you. I want to kind of outline what happened at my agency, and I want to show you how I navigated it, and it helps with retention, because I had a situation where a client was considering cutting some services, and we had to reframe their perspective because of it. So here's the story. So I had this client, and we're running a list building campaign for them where we're giving something away in exchange for them signing up for our marketing system. And so guest clicks on ad on Facebook, and that takes them over to the funnel where they opt in. We get their contact information in exchange for the free voucher. They take that free voucher and they go on their merry way, but we now have their contact information to where we can market to them for life until they buy, die, or beg for mercy, right? And so the idea here is to build a list of interested people in my client's market with the free thing, convert them into an actual customer, and then take them down the path to get them to maximize their value where they buy repeatedly, refer, and review. Now, what happened though is we're running this campaign. On my end, I'm seeing good stats, but he comes to me a little bit frustrated. You see, recession is in foot, and the client's concerned about costs, and he's looking at every little detail. And he just had a conversation with one of his staff members, which actually happened to be a waiter, where they had told him that they were getting lots of people coming in for the free offer, but they were spending very little money. And he had this perspective that the business owner was giving away the house with this marketing campaign we were running. And so I knew his stats, and I knew this was probably BS, and I knew he's also talking to some stupid staff member, right? And basing his opinion based on what he was saying. And so, when clients come to you with truths that they think and they perceive as true, it's important that you as an agency actually really dives in to what reality actually is. Because sometimes their perspective can be shaped on one customer that came in, and you will have no idea if you don't break it down and really look at it, right? And so, when clients question results, it's important that you dive into those stats, check the reality, because reality from what they tell you is often totally not what's really going on the stats. And so you've got to be able to pick up on that and really know if something's true. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to clients where they have one customer complain about something, and then all of a sudden that one customer makes them want to shift their entire business, when it's like, no, this is working. Like, why are you going to take the opinion of one customer out of thousands. It doesn't make sense, right? And so what you've got to do is to look at reality with them. And so I told him, I said, look, I hear what you're saying and I hear what your staff is saying. And what I like to do is look at the real numbers and see what's going on. I said, do you think that's fair? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. I said, okay. So just to let you know, when clients come to me super excited about a campaign, I don't get too overly excited. I said, when they come to me with a negative sense of a campaign, I don't get too overly upset either. And the reason is I like to look at the actual numbers for what's going on. I want to know the real truth, the dirty, the skinny behind it, because that's really what's going to give us a good picture in the results. I said, would you agree with that? He said, absolutely. I said, okay, so let's look at it. And here's the thing you got to remember. Business owners aren't always present to see all of the numbers, to see every aspect of their business. Business owners wear lots of hats, right? They are the accountant, they are payroll, they are staffing, they are visionary. They're all these different places, and they don't often have time to go and look at every aspect of the marketing. So they shape their opinions on things like staff members, employees, their Aunt Sally, their horoscope, whatever it is. There's lots of different things that can shape a business owner's perception on something. And staff often aren't a great tool to really use. It's important you listen to what your staff is telling you, but with marketing specifically, staff often is biased because it gives them extra steps to go through. If you're using coupons, they have to, scan a coupon, so they might not be excited about using coupons, and they can often demonize something that's actually working for you. And so if you aren't considering the true value, the true numbers, and you aren't looking at that frame of reference, then your perspective could be shifted. And oftentimes that's what happens with a business owner that's so busy. They're browsing the internet and listen to some idiot online tell them that they need to go and do this form of marketing or the world's going to end. And then all of a sudden they think that is the only thing to do, So perceptions can get manipulated and changed. And so you as an agency have to learn to pick up on that kind of stuff and reframe it into the correct perspective for you. Okay. So my client was venting, expressing his concern. He's all concerned he's given away the house, right? And he said, he dropped this little line where he said, just today, my staff told me that I gave away 5 vouchers at one table. And I'm thinking in my head, awesome, because that's a big freaking group. But he was looking at it like he gave away all these vouchers at one table, right? Small-minded thinking. And so I said, okay. I was like, here he is wanting to think that we need to rethink this campaign because he's giving away all these apps. And I said, all right, let's look at the numbers. Let's go pull it up. So I pull up Facebook ads. I pull up Go High Level, and I'm looking through it. And he had spent so far, he's got a pretty small budget. He spent about $848 on ads for the month so far. And out of that, if we look at the stats, he got 655 clicks. So he's spending about $1.20 per click, right? Now, out of that, he got 330 conversions where they actually went from ad to the landing page and actually opted in. So out of 655 people that went to the landing page, well, he is getting a 50% conversion on that. So for about $2.50, he's getting a full lead of name, email, phone number, physical address, and birthday. We could probably increase our lead amount if we took away some of those, requirements, but we really wanted this information to build this good solid list. And so when I look at that, I'm like, gosh, here you are spending this $848, but you've got 330 new customers to be able to potentially get, right? I said, well, how many of these actually came in and redeemed? Let's look at the redemptions. He had 120 of them. So here we have 330 new leads that he can now communicate with in his local market that's interested in what he has. And 120 of them have already converted into an actual customer. Pretty freaking awesome. We're getting good numbers here. That's like almost another 50% conversion, on the actual sale. So what he's looking at, though, is just the front end, just the giving away of the app. He's not looking at the value from the leads. the lifetime value of the customers that he brought in. And so I told him, I was like, look, the value of a customer is not just their initial transaction, it's their referrals, their reviews, the multiple transactions they make over the lifetime of buying from you. I said, do you think out of this 330 people that you'll get some more customers of those to come in? They've only got so many restaurants in their local area to go to. You think you could convert a few more of these people with us following up with them every so often? And he said, well, yeah. And I said, okay. So out of that 120 that have already bought from you, do you think some of those people will come back? Or do you think just everybody had a poor experience with you? And he said, no, our experience is great. And I said, okay. So here you have 120 new customers. And do you think any of them are going to come back? And he's like, yes. I said, do you think any of them are going to tell their friends about you? And he said, yeah, probably. And I said, do you think any of them are going to leave you reviews? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, so their value is not just their initial transaction. It's their referrals. It's their future purchases. It's also their reviews. So see how I'm framing his line of thinking of how to look at his leads and customers. I took away the initial transaction, and now I'm showing him the lifetime value of that customer, right? And then further, I said, what does the average guest spend with you? And he told me it was $45. I said, okay, so you had 120 people that redeemed. If the average guest spends $45 with you, that's $5,200. So you've already paid for your ads, if that's true. I said, but that's your average guest, not necessarily these people that came in and bought. I was like, let's look at some of the ones that did actually come in. Let's review those. I said, so you mentioned this table that came in earlier that got five appetizers, this group of people that you had to give away all these apps for. I said, how much cost did you have in that? And so he starts going through the numbers with me. And I said, okay, so here you spent $2.50 per app you gave away, which was 5. And then I was like, how much did you have in food costs? He was like, well, $5. I said, okay, so here you have $7.50 a guest at that table. So in total, you gave away 5. You got your ad cost in there. So that averages out to be about $37.50 you spent to get that group in the door. And he said, yeah, that's a lot, $40. God, we can't, do that. And I said, well, let's look up what they spent. And so he opens up his POS and he looks for their ticket and he finds it. The guest had spent $1,200 with him. So here he spent $37 to get him in with the appetizers. And out of that, he made $1,200. What kind of return is that? I told him, I said, we're in the stock market. Can you invest $37 and make $1,200 in a day? I said, that one table paid your entire ad cost for the month. For everything you've spent already in ads, that one table has covered the cost of. And now you made money. You made an extra $400 on that one table. And then on top of that, you have 330 new leads that you can now market to. And you got 120 new people that actually have already redeemed. So do you see how I'm framing his perspective for how to look at all of these leads, all of these opportunities? So he looks at me and he goes, I'm an idiot. And I just started laughing. And I was like, look, oftentimes we look at things incorrectly, and you really have to dive into the stats and look at the numbers and really look at the full opportunity. I said, so, while we're on the topic, let's really dive in and let's look at some of these conversations from these leads. Let's see what's going on with these leads. It's one thing to listen to the front end. It's another to look at all the stats, all the numbers, and actual reality, right? And so we started going through the conversations tab and go high level, and it showed all kinds of opportunities that were happening. People booking teams that came in off a free appetizer that brought their entire team in. And so, in just a few moments, this guy realized how small-minded he was looking at this situation, how much money he was actually making, and how it already paid for itself, all in me just going through the stats, outlining and shaping his perspective. And so now the guy sees the huge opportunity that he has in front of him. He sees the true value of what's going on. But his initial perspective was faulty thinking. But because he's so busy, he really didn't look at the true reality of the situation. So how do you apply this in your agency? You need to learn to look for those faulty perceptions. When they come up, it's important that you address those concerns. It's important that you look at real stats when customers tell you things. When they share a reality with you, is it true? They could be basing their opinion off a stupid waiter. Nothing against waiters, but are they marketing experts? Do they know analytics? Do they know actual numbers? No. When you look at the real stats of what's going on, it reveals what all is happening in the business. And so, sometimes you got to shape those perspectives, reframe their line of thinking into yours. And now it was like a light bulb went off in this guy's head to where he's like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing I've ever done in marketing. And I'm like, there you go, buddy.